I'm almost certain that you're missing at least one of these things, and it's probably the last one. And before you say to yourself, what's this skinny woman going to teach me about building muscle? I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist, and I've been coaching people to build muscle for over 20 years. I've also been able to achieve a fairly good amount of muscle, especially considering my natural body type. More importantly, I'm going to talk to you about the issues that I've had over the last couple of years that have prevented me from building muscle, and there are probably some things that are affecting you too. And at the end, I'm going to include an important reminder without which you'll never be happy with your muscle gains. I've worked with a lot of people who consider themselves hard gainers, and when I look at their recording of the food that they're eating, I'm constantly amazed at how little they actually eat. The whole day? It's one of the reasons I normally ask them to include liquid sources of calories like protein shakes, high calorie density foods like nuts, peanut butter, higher fat sources of dairy, fattier cuts of meat, sushi, and even highly processed refined foods like muffins, cereals, and ice cream. If you're very slim and you're struggling to eat enough, it's fine to include more of those hyper palatable foods to make sure that you eat enough. Don't believe the hype that you have to keep it all clean, because sometimes the only solution for some people is to include more highly processed foods. So I suffer from IBS and GERD, so that basically means that my digestion is a bit screwed up, which affects my appetite. Sometimes all I can eat is potatoes and cottage cheese. I struggle with the consistency of getting in my protein because sometimes I can't tolerate certain things. I generally recommend the range of 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. Your muscles need that protein to recover and build, so make sure you're getting in enough protein on a regular basis. So let's figure out how many calories you need. I generally start by working out your maintenance calories, and there's a simple multiplier that I often use, 13 times your body weight in pounds, and that would be considered your estimated maintenance calories. You might need 14 or 15 times your body weight in pounds in order to put on muscle. So you're trying to achieve a calorie surplus, giving your body a little bit more than it currently needs so that it can use that to build muscle. If you're not tracking your calories, then it's easy enough just to monitor what's happening to your body as you increase your food intake. So if you start to put on extra fat, particularly around the middle, then that's a sign that you're probably giving your body a bit too many calories, and it doesn't really need that to build muscle. Remember though, when you're trying to put on muscle, you often will put on some fat. It's almost impossible to put on muscle without putting on a little bit of fat. If you're putting on more than about 5 pounds a month, the excess is excess fat, and you're not putting on more than 5 pounds of muscle. If that's the case, then you'll probably want to cut back on your calories. So now we're going to get to the serious stuff. This is all about the specific training issues preventing you from getting the result that you want. The first is not training progressively. Many people train for years without having a structured weight training program. This works when you're a beginner because pretty much anything you do is going to create some overload effect because your body is only comparing it to what it was able to do before. And if you've been on the couch and then you start working out, it almost doesn't matter what you do. You're going to get some result. But once you've been training for at least a year, it's much harder to see changes if you don't have a specific program. Now, this is exactly what happened to my online coaching client, John. He's actually a personal trainer and he's been working out for over 8 years now. But he's never made muscle building a priority before. So his workouts consisted of weight training, including dumbbells and barbells and kettlebells, but also some gymnastics type work on the rings and wakeboarding. Now he's obviously very fit, but those other activities were taking away from the energy that he had to do his primary muscle building activity. Now John doesn't want to give all those things up. He's just managed to reduce them a little bit, and we make sure that he does 3 to 5 solid weight training sessions per week, which he's never really done consistently because he's always enjoyed cross training and mixing things up. That approach leads to great overall fitness and strength, but it's never going to maximize your muscle building. We wanted to make sure that he focuses on compound exercises like squats, deadlifts, bench press, and pull-ups. So because he's finally weight training consistently and focusing on those major exercises, he's increased his strength and he started to build more muscle, even though he was in good shape before. You're not going to see significant changes in your muscle mass unless you use progressive overload, which just means that when you get stronger, you move up and keep pushing your muscles to grow. The simplest way of thinking about this is just increasing the weight that you're using. So if you're using 10 pounds, you move up to 12 pounds and then 15 pounds. There's also ways of doing this with body weight exercises as well, but it's a little bit trickier and you have to know which body weight exercises to use at the right time. Another reason why you might not be building muscle is if you're doing too much cardio. Now, to be fair, the average person is more at risk of undertraining than overtraining. Very few people are doing the amount of cardio that's actually going to interfere with your muscle building process. So even if you're running 30 to 40 minutes a few times a week, that's probably not going to have a huge impact on your muscle building capabilities. But if you're not that fit at the moment, then even that amount of exercise might make you tired when you actually go to the gym to lift. And that means that you're going to be lifting less. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that's important in a second. In the summer, I really enjoy mountain biking. It's a 3 or 4 hour ride through various terrain. Sometimes I take my son to the bike park. By the time we get home, we take a shower and we collapse on the couch for the evening. It also wears out my legs, so the day after or 2 days after, I'm probably not getting 100% out of them. That definitely affects my ability to put on muscle during the summer. If you are one of these people who has an activity that is very strenuous and long in duration, then you might want to consider how much that's affecting your ability to build muscle and whether you want to cut that down, or if you don't and you're just going to accept that that's going to be a limitation to your muscle for the long term, that's fine too. And while it's okay for someone who's a beginner to start off with just a couple of weight training sessions a week, if you're intermediate or advanced and have been training for several years, then you probably need 3 to 5 sessions. That allows you to get the right amount of volume to stimulate muscle growth. We think of volume in terms of for the session, so how many exercises, how many sets and reps you're doing, but also volume over the course of the week. So one workout a week just isn't going to add up to enough volume. Now, recently I've been focusing on very short 30 to 40 minute weight training sessions at most, and I'm not doing it very frequently, and that is not enough for me to get any additional muscle growth. I'm barely maintaining what I have. If you're very experienced and you're still not building muscle, you may need to increase your training volume to get results. Or in the extreme case, if you're doing way too much, you may want to cut back, because what happens is that if you've got more energy, you can actually build more muscle. The main result that you're going to get comes through mechanical tension. That is the mechanism of muscle hypertrophy that is actually held up over time. Reps don't seem to matter as much as we thought they did. So that range of 6 to 12 that we used to talk about is your maximum muscle growth range. It's possible that you can get good growth slightly below that and good growth higher than that as well, as long as you're pushing your muscles. This is the part that nobody wants to hear, but it's possible that you're just not working out hard enough. Based on what I've seen in gyms, most people don't know what it takes to train hard or really push themselves. I'll be completely honest, I have not pushed myself very hard in a weight training session for a couple of years now. And that is partially because of my stomach issues and partially because I have a shoulder issue that's been playing up for several months. So I can't do a lot of exercises and I can't push hard. At the end of your session, you should be pretty tired and feel like you're spent, for lack of a better word. Not always, of course. You need to have some balance, some heavy days, some lighter days, but a lot of people just stay on the light days. Building muscle is hard and it takes a lot of time. Once you get past that first year of newbie gains, expect to see only small changes from year to year. And if you want to keep seeing those changes after, let's say, more than a decade of working out, then you need to be specifically focused on that goal of building muscle. If you're not sure how to put this all together, check out my online coaching program here.